Before we get started with the show, I'd like to thank our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Atmos Planning, financial planners turning visionaries into meaningful millionaires. Our second sponsor of the day is Planet Duct. Reach out to them for any of your air duct cleaning needs. Now, let's get on with the show. Elixir Evergoods?
Evergood Elixers.
This should go in the show.
This would be like the outtakes. You know how they have the outtakes of in a movie, right?
Yeah, some bloopers. Yeah. Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast, the #1 podcast in Colorado Springs. My name is Andrew Hasley, and I am the host of the show. Today, I'm sitting here with James Wieker with Evergood Elixirs. Did I say it in the right order that time?
Yeah, you got it.
Nice. I kept mixing it up because I don't know. I just mix things up. I don't know why I do that. I was saying good elixir ever, and I was saying things like that.
Yeah.
But also, you run a sales and marketing company, and what was that again?
Solid Solutions.
Solid Solutions.
Yeah.
Sweet. So sitting here with James Wieker, and can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Evergood Elixirs and your sales and marketing company?
Yeah, I think it'd be good to go back to the beginning a little bit, and then we can kind of go forward, if that sounds good.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go to the start. Wherever you want to start,
okay.
we'll go.
All right. So I was brought on with a tech company that did really well, and I parlayed that experience into a sales and consulting business. And the idea is that I wanted to help other people with the knowledge that I gained. And so I started Solid Solutions back in 2008, officially. And the idea is a lot of these startups couldn't afford me. Mm-hmm. So I would take a piece of the action, and then my commission would pay the bills, was kind of the idea of the business.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a pure commission based. They have no upfront cost. It's only based on what you're able to sell.
Yeah, and then I get, sweat equity too, because I always wanted some equity, and because the companies I was picking was they had a product or service that I believed in, and I think could do some good stuff. So I wanted a piece of the action if it hit big, right? That's kind of the idea.
So when you say that, you like a percentage, stake in the company.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was kind of the idea for the business, and it's interesting. You run into so many great ideas, and some work, some don't, some fall in the middle, and it's a roller coaster ride. Entrepreneurship is tricky, man. And but I found my niche, and that's really in that sales and marketing niche, and really narrowing it down. I think the problem is a lot of times entrepreneurs, inventors, founders, they really want to sell to everyone, and they just don't have the resources to do that. You have to really go narrow it down like a laser light focus, and instead of a shotgun approach. And once you do that, your resources are so finite that you can actually use those resources effectively and grow your company. And so how I got into the wine business is kind of a cool story. I have my book that's launching in September, which I'm super stoked about. It's called Finding the Crease, and that really is my sales methodology. And the Finding the Crease is about, I grew up on a farm and farming, and so a creaser actually cuts the row where the water is going to go down to water to the crops. Right. And so I look at a business the same way. Is the water, you got to get the water to the crops so that they can grow and they can produce your cash flow for your business. Right. Yeah. And so through that, I created my methodology, which I call the glide method. Mm-hmm. And the first one is give. And that's really how I got into the wine business. So I'd been on the 1 Million Cups board for 2 years. And we had a last-minute cancellation. And for those of you who don't know 1 Million Cups, it's like the TED Talks of business. Yeah. And it's really great. The entrepreneur gets 6 minutes to talk, and the crowd gets 20 minutes to ask questions at the end. And I love this about 1 Million Cups. They say, what can we do as a community to support you? Which I think is really the
Whichever
spirit.
community it's in,
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it should be, right? We're in this together. Life's a team sport. That's my motto. Yeah. And so 1 Million Cups really fosters that atmosphere.
Yeah, and I'm there every week streaming, providing a live stream, which is something they never really had. COVID kind of brought that on, and I provide like a hybrid kind of live stream while it's also in person. And I've been doing that for a couple months, and I'm basically an organizer in a sense, but not an official organizer, but a media sponsor. That's what it is. Yeah.
No, and I think that's awesome. I think you provide a important service, and I think it's a great opportunity to send it out to maybe areas or regions outside of Colorado Springs that maybe don't have a 1 Million Cups chapter and expose other people to the opportunity. And I'm sure you've experienced as 1 Million Cups is you're exposed to so many different ideas and opportunities and people doing different things that you never even would have thought of.
For
and
sure.
I think that's what's really cool at the spirit of 1 Million Cups, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a I don't know. It's a good feeling. It's a good thing.
yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I love the atmosphere. So anyway, what happened was we had a last-minute cancellation of a speaker, and I just got back from Kazakhstan. So I'm on a Shark Tank type event that I go usually 2 weeks in the summer to Kazakhstan. And
isn't that where Borat's from?
That's right. You got it. You know? And so anyway, people pitch their business ideas, and then we provide loans usually between $3,000 and $5,000. And we charge about 1% interest. That just covers our wire transfer fees and costs just to keep the nonprofit going and stuff like that.
And this is the nonprofit you're a part of?
Oh, yeah.
Sweet.
And it's actually Emerge Aquaponics. They're amazing organization. They're out in Black Forest. They provide a lot of the lettuce for the local grocery stores here. 100% organic aquaponics farm.
Nice.
Good dudes. I'd highly recommend you invite them here. Really just love what they're doing and for people and bringing businesses to the nations, which is super cool.
Next time you're talking to them or make a connection, we'll make that happen. I love that. That sounds like an awesome company to have on.
Oh yeah, they're it's great what they're doing. I love it. But anyway, so I just got back from Kazakhstan and did the Shark Tank event. That year we had 21 pitches, 6 businesses we approved for loans.
Nice.
And the board looks at me and goes, "Hey, we don't have a speaker because this last minute cancellation. You want to talk about your trip?"
The 1 Million Cups board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, "Sure." So I flew up, threw up 10 or 15 slides and talked about my trip and the businesses that we were going to sponsor that year. And a gentleman came up to me afterwards and said, "Hey, I have this women's shelter in Uganda that I like to support, and it's a 30-bed facility. They rescue women from bad situations like human trafficking and stuff like that. Would you make some connections for me to some of your international business contacts that can get some training for these women?" Mm-hmm. And I thought that was awesome. So I kind of did a little due diligence, sound like a legit nonprofit. Everything was good. And started making some connections for the guy, and he turned out to be a really good guy. Mm-hmm. And so we invited him to a barbecue in September of 2017.
Okay.
And he said, "I'll bring some of my lemon wine."
Lemon wine, okay, yeah.
And I'm like, we've all had other people's hooch and different things that they make, and we're just like,
Especially
okay, whatever.
Living in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, exactly. This is like the beer distillery capital of the world, it seems like, But anyway, so he brought it. It was a hot, sunny day, and it was super refreshing. It was like, and it's like an adult lemonade, super tasty. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Hey, I've done some mentoring for Peak Startup, and, I have a background in this. If you want to get together, just buy me a lunch or coffee, and I'll give you some sales and marketing advice. Just helping a guy out. I want to give, right?" Mm-hmm. And we would get together, and we'd bounce ideas off of each other. And fast forward to January of 2018, he says, "Hey, I have a meeting with Vail Corporate in Broomfield," the head of purchasing nonetheless, and they're like an $8 billion a year company.
Okay.
So it's kind of a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Yeah, let's get together." So we get together, and I start talking to him about, one of the things is we're always in sales. We're always wanting to pitch, right? Mm-hmm. We're wanting to throw up everything about our product to people. Mm-hmm. And I said, he's been pitched all day. He's going to get pitched and pitched and pitched and pitched. Mm-hmm. And you got to differentiate yourself. You got to be different, right? And I said, you should ask him some questions. And he goes, "Well, what are those questions?" I said, "Well, the number one question is you got to ask him, what attracted you to my brand? Because even if he doesn't buy it, right?
Yeah.
He's going to get some good intel on why do the consumers think this is cool, mm-hmm. right?" And then I said, next you got to ask him, like, what format do you want? Do you want bottles? Do you want cans? Do you want it in kegs? What because we want to make it easy for you because you got a limited amount of space in the resort. And what you're really doing is you're, at that point, you're setting the tone saying, I'm thinking about what's in your best interest. Because I think sales is really about that. Mm-hmm. It's about, how can I serve you? Is this going to be a fit for you? am I going to make this easy for you? Is this going to be a good business relationship, right? And then the final question I said is, do you have a distributor that you like to work with? Is there somebody, or do you want us to deliver it ourselves? Mm-hmm. And if you do, we'd be glad to work with them because we want to make this ultimately easy for you. Mm-hmm. And he said, would you go to the meeting with me? And I was like, sure. So we go up to Vail Corporate up in Broomfield, and sure enough, we knock it out of the park. We get a huge verbal commitment for an order. Yeah. And so we're like, yeah, this is great. And we go out to lunch afterwards, and he goes, hey, you want to run my sales and marketing? I was like, yeah, I love this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But the point there is, at no time was I ever prospecting or expecting business. I was just helping a guy out. Mm-hmm. And it all started with helping this women's shelter. Yeah. And that's why giving is important. You gotta give without expectation and let faith take over, and good things will happen. And now we're in the wine business 3 years later, and we're in 300 retail locations here in Colorado, and our business is growing. And so we've been blessed. And I think it all starts with kind of that cornerstone concept of giving, you know?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I love the idea of giving. Me and you have had conversations about the book The Go-Giver, and like so I 100% agree with that. And we have not rolled our intro music yet, so before we go any further, we're gonna roll the intro music and dive a little bit more into your journey of this business and your sales journey and your book coming out.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, sweet.
Thanks, man.
This is a show where we have real conversations with entrepreneurs and business owners who are mostly in Colorado Springs, doing things in the community of Colorado Springs.
There you go.
All right, so yeah, man, that's awesome how going to Kazakhstan led to that. Because you had that story to tell Emily Cups that led to meeting the person who's running the shelter in Uganda. And that's cool, man, how things just lead to another, and you weren't salesy. And that's interesting how that works too. It's like, why try to sell someone who's not interested anyways? But yeah. But when it comes more natural, that is just beautiful, I think, you know. Yeah. like my partnership with Marcus here, like that was just a pure natural thing, you know, connection through the person who built this wall here. Mm-hmm. And so it's just a beautiful thing how things come together. So yeah,
it's pretty cool. It's good stuff.
Yeah. So how's that been? How's the partnership been with the marketing and the company? How have you guys managed that?
So Matthew's the founder, so he really calls the shots, just like any founder would, or CEO of a company. And then I provide input and consulting on the sales side. I get a commission off each bottle sold, and then I also have a percentage in the ownership. And so that's kind of how I really structured my deals in the past. Nice. And I like that because it forces me to really work on and pour my heart and soul into that. Yeah. And I'm not going to back anything I don't believe in, that I think is special and different and something that's going to be cool. And so that's kind of an exciting model. And my model's changing a little bit. I'll still do this, mm-hmm. but with my book coming out, I'm taking on more of a coaching role. Yeah. With some businesses and individuals, and I've had some really exciting, unique experiences in some of the opportunities I've gotten to speak, and it's actually taught me a couple things. Mm-hmm. It forces you to look at things a little differently, and that's been a great experience in itself. So yeah.
So are you wanting to lean more towards like speaking and coaching? That's what you're getting at?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've found that speaking and coaching, I can reach out to a more vast group of people. Mm-hmm. Where this has been very much one-on-one focused, which I enjoy, and it's very fulfilling, but I want to make more of an impact. Mm-hmm. I want to help people with what I've learned, and I think that coaching, speaking, writing a book is going to impact more people. Yeah. So that's kind of why that transition's going on, so to speak. For sure. Yeah.
And I definitely want to lean more into that and talk about more of that. But I'm interested about, like, before we leave the elixir. Yeah. Elixir, Evergood?
Evergood Elixers. Yeah.
Before we leave that topic, I kind of want to know a little bit some of the marketing things you've done for them and how you've really helped them grow, like some of the strategies and techniques you've used. Yeah. I think that could be beneficial for anyone listening.
Oh, yeah. So I think the first part is, and this is my second letter is listen, right? You've really got to listen to what the consumer's doing. You really got to listen to what your customer's doing. You got to understand that. And then you got to formulate and craft your marketing and sales strategy. It's very strategic. Most people don't realize that marketing sales, you can't just go out and do a bunch of stuff and expect a result.
For sure.
It's very strategic, right? And so, this is my first time being in the liquor industry. So I had to learn a new industry, but the methodology is always the same. And so when I listened to what was going on, there's a couple things that really stood out in this industry. And one of them is that it's a very old industry.
Yeah.
Like most of the liquor store owners, 90% of them still write checks, and you still deliver a paper invoice, and they sign that paper invoice, and then you process it, and then you pick up a check 30 days later. Most of them don't even check their email. Very few of them, unless they're the bigger stores, actually even use social media. So you got to change. You got to change to a strong ground game, and you got to tailor your sales strategy towards that. And one of the keystone things that we do, our cornerstones of our ground game, is called liquor to lips, L to L, and that is doing tastings in stores. That has a couple different benefits. One, it shows the store owner that you actually care about their business and helping them move product. So that creates a two-way relationship, right? Next, liquor to lips gets people to follow your product. That's how they taste it. And what's interesting is when I tell people wine made with lemons, not grapes, there's no mental box for it. They don't know if it's good. They don't know if it's tart. There's no reference because it's so divergent in the industry. And I think that's one of the things that excites me from a strategic perspective and a Blue Ocean. For those who've read the Blue Ocean strategy book, this is truly a Blue Ocean product because it's so divergent, right? It's wine, but it's wine made with lemons, and people just don't have a mental box.
For sure.
And so our liquor to lips strategy is the cornerstone. So one of the things that when I put together my sales strategy was no one is going to outtaste us out of any liquor company in Colorado.
Nice. Okay.
Whether you're distillery, brewery, winery, we're going to our goal is to do 12 tastings a weekend. Nice. And so we'll do, one or two locally. We have a company that we work with out of Denver that can.
So do you have someone in the store that you have to hire 12 different people for that? Or do you hit like 5 different spots and then go to another 5 different spots?
Yeah. So usually I'll do it 1 or 2 tastings a weekend. Maybe Matthew or his wife will do a tasting. We'll have that company we contract out of Denver. We have part-time people in the Grand Junction area and up in Fort Collins that will do tastings for us. So we staff those and we pay pretty well. And, it's a good part-time gig for people. And,
for sure.
And so it works out really well. It's usually from like 4 to 6 on a Friday or a Saturday when people are coming in. There's a lot of traffic at the store, right? And so really that was the cornerstone of our business until COVID hit. And then we had to pivot and listen to what else we could do. And we made some changes. Like one of the things we did is we started really pushing our winery tastings because we could allow, with our square footage and the COVID rules, we could allow up to 12 people safely into our winery.
Nice. To
get liquor to lips and do a winery tour. And that boosted our sales and kind of shored things up during COVID because we weren't able to build our fan base or our customer base. So that was another strategic shift. And then the other thing, to talk about strategy is when we first started this business, bombers were just like the it thing. I mean, bombers were everywhere in the store. Bombers this, bombers that. Everybody's buying bombers.
I don't even know what bombers are.
These guys right here. Yeah, 22-ounce bombers. Yeah,
gotcha.
Right? And as the industry has changed, bombers have kind of fell out of favor. So what we did is we listened to people, and the number one request we got was for single-serve cans. Like the hard seltzer cans, like you see the White Claw and that kind of stuff. So we bought a canning line, and in September, I think in August, September timeframe, we'll actually have 8-ounce single-serve cans.
Nice.
And what's really cool is they'll still fit in your White Claw skinny koozies that keep your White Claws cold and all that stuff.
Okay.
So but it's cool because it's very brand specific. Our cans kind of look like the Red Bull concept. It has our outdoor theme. We're all about the outdoors being in Colorado. And so we really stuck brand specific, but we went with where the market was going and shifted into that. So, there's a lot of strategy that goes into sales and figuring out where to grow your brand. And so you have to really listen to what the market's telling you and what the store owner's telling you. Yeah.
And that makes sense because I've actually, the only company that I've seen doing those wine tastings inside of a liquor store was Axe and the Oak, and they're killing it, you know. So
oh yeah, yeah, it's critical for a small craft brand like us, you know, and so it's kind of those things that you got to tweak and put together as your part of your strategy.
For sure, yeah. And I know Boulevard Brewing. It's based in Kansas City. They have a big old thing in the downtown area of Kansas City, and they have open tours all the time. Like that's part of their business model, I guess. Yeah. And that makes sense now that you've laid out the whole industry and like how that's kind of how marketing with booze really is, you know. So that makes sense. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. So are there any other? What are some of the other companies that you've worked for with your sales and consulting?
Yeah. So I took on a water recycling system at one point down in Florence, Colorado. That was a referral. That was an amazing technology that I just loved. You know, it's one of those things where fortunately it didn't pan out for a myriad of reasons, but the technology was sound and it was really making an impact on the planet. Also represented a different app company that had a charitable component into it. Looked at all kinds of different like biotech technologies, and you know, if I had to do it all over again, this is the number one piece of advice I give people if they're going to do this model. Make sure you have a 2-year runway, because
what's that mean?
So 2-year runway is basically if you can survive, you don't have to thrive.
Okay. Yeah.
But if you can survive a couple years and you have enough in savings, one of my pitfalls is my first startup was super successful, did really well. So I was like, this is how they're supposed to all work, right? and so I ended up getting myself into some financial difficulties because I didn't have that runway. Now, if you can do a year, that's good too, but I recommend to people have a 2-year runway. Because
I can definitely see how that would have been beneficial for me starting my business.
Yeah, right? I mean, because it takes a while to figure out, one, what the industry looks like, two, how your cash flow model looks like, if it's even going to pan out. And if it doesn't pan out, then at least the next one maybe will work out. So that was just a big, hard lesson learned, so to speak.
And I subscribe to that. I like that idea. But also on another note, I think if I would have said, well, wait till I have 2 years of income to do this, I would have never done it.
Yeah.
Like, because this is the first time I actually went full time and really jumped in. So I really needed that push, and I would have just used that as an excuse and never done anything, I don't think.
Well, it's a balance, right?
Yeah.
You know, you can use that as an excuse, right? And so you know, they say it all the time, the toughest 6 inches you conquer is between your ears. And so, you know, you got to weigh all the pros and cons, you know, and just figure out what's best for you. But you know, if I had a little bit more runway, I think it would have been.
No, I get it. Yeah. No, for sure. And it's also, I mean, you can focus on. You're not stressed, and stress kills everything. So
it does.
Obviously, stress is a good thing too, but I mean, you're not stressed in a bad way because you're not focusing on, oh crap, where's my bill? How am I going to pay my bills or all?
Yeah.
You know, debt is very stressful too. So
yeah.
So yeah, definitely a good idea for sure. So let's go more into your book a little bit. So you said there's this GLIDE method. It's an acronym.
Yeah.
GL. We went through the first one. The G was.
G is give.
And then the second is listen.
Yeah, listen.
I did the listen part.
Yeah.
And I think I've done some of the give part too, I hope.
Yeah. And then I is innovate, because you have to constantly be innovating and changing. I mean, look at how much our world has changed in the last year since COVID, right? And, you know, and it's a perfect example, you know, when I look at Evergood, bombers were the thing. Like, bombers are perfect. And bombers were great because as a startup, we didn't have a huge cash outlay to get bombers going. So it was a blessing to us. And it was good because we cut our teeth learning all this stuff with little outlay, comparatively speaking, to some other startups. And now it's like cans are the thing. Well, yeah, maybe cans will be good for 5-10 years. I don't know.
For sure.
But everybody wants portability. That's the number one thing. And what's, you know, kind of, you know, you talk about side effect, or I think a benefit of COVID, it's forced people to reevaluate what they want to do activity-wise, and it's pushed people into more outdoor activities instead of just hanging at home. And so when lemon wine is perfect for that. It is. It's super refreshing. It's like adult lemonade. I mean, the first one we have is adult lemonade, and then the next one is like our lemon lime. It's going to taste like a margarita. Yeah.
You got to hold it up next to
okay.
you.
Okay.
Up next to you where your head is.
All right.
There you go.
All right. Yeah, this is our adult lemonade. Super tasty stuff. It's called Skier Peak because my business partner's son was being a snarky 14-year-old and came up with that name. So
okay.
that was the brilliance in that.
I'm glad you told that story because I didn't know.
And, low sugar, gluten-free, super tasty stuff. You can mix it with cocktails, so a lot of bars like that because then it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife behind the bar, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They like it because the shelf life's super stable. I can put a cap on it. I don't even need to refrigerate. It sits on the counter for up to 2 weeks.
Okay.
So for, those what we call on-premise accounts, bars and restaurants, it's real advantageous. And, the other one is lemon lime. And it tastes like a margarita, so it's good. And then our lemon grapefruit is our number 2 seller. It was awesome. And our number 1 seller is lemon strawberry. People go nuts for the strawberry. I never knew there was a fall.
Well, strawberry is the thing, yeah. I know strawberry is one of my first go-tos. Like when I see an assortment of flavors like this, like I just go for strawberry,
Well, and we went nuts on it last night. We cooked out some burgers, and we that Screwball peanut butter whiskey?
I don't know, actually. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So you mix a shot of that with a cup of Snow Bunny, and it tastes like a liquid peanut butter and jelly. It's so
okay, good. I got you. Nice.
Oh my gosh, it's our new favorite drink. So anyway, but back to innovate. So innovate really is kind of examining your market. I have one of the things I put in, and it's going to be in my book, is as consultants we tend to go towards these really elaborate business plans and sales plans that are 20 pages, and it's great. It's a great thought process. You spend an entire day and you bring in lunch and people know their business in depth. But then, a month, 2 months down the road, they just kind of fall into those same not bad habits, but same habits. And then, maybe they do this or do that, and then they're not being effective. Mm-hmm. And so I really knew that something had to change because if I'm coaching people and I'm putting out a book and my goal is for those people to be successful, then I had to make something that was usable. Mm-hmm. So I came up with a 1-page sales plan. Okay. And what's really great about it is you narrow it down. First, they actually get to what their ideal client is in a very niche way. And some people are like, well, that feels too narrow. But truth be known that you don't have a Home Depot advertising budget. So we have to get very narrow, then we get those customers, then we increase your cash flow, and then maybe we widen up that scope a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so you go through that process, and you do that every 90 days, and my acronym at the bottom is actually REAP. Okay. You record your results, right? And you're shooting for a 10x. The goal is 10x on any campaign that we're going to do through that 1-page marketing plan.
Nice.
But what's great because it's clear, it's concise, and it really gets things nailed down for people, and it's 1 page instead of like that 20-page marketing plan like I used to do for clients, right? That goes in the filing cabinet and collects dust.
Yeah,
now,
1-pagers are awesome.
They have the 1 page they stick on the wall, and they can look at it every day, and it kind of keeps them focused. And I had a really amazing experience with a lady that runs an oil and lube shop up in Woodland Park. And we were able to really narrow it down to what her ideal service is for her ideal customer, where there's the least amount of competition, and how she was really able to give. One of the stores that refers her a lot of business, we spent a lot of our time focusing on how she could love on them, whether they enjoyed donuts from the donut mill or whether they wanted pizza, to really be thankful and express that thankfulness to that store, right? And so after that conversation, it was very clear where she needed to go with her limited amount of marketing and sales funds and her limited amount of time.
For sure.
And so that was really cool, unique experience because I found whether it was water recycling, tech, liquor, all that, if you can narrow it down like that, you can be highly effective. Okay. And so that's what really the Innovate is people can look through that and print out that 1-page sales plan and really devise it.
Where's the 1-page sales plan?
It's going to be in my book in the Innovate chapter.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that'll be cool, and it'll be on my website once my website's launched. One of the other things is I've had this URL since like 2009 or something like that, but I never did anything with it because all my stuff was referral. Because I just like you, we're out in the community, we're giving, making things happen, and
For
people
sure.
like, hey, I got this cool thing you should check out. And that's how I built my business. But now that I'm going to try to go to a broader range of people and help more people, it's necessary to get the website. So that'll all be downloadable on that one-page sales plan, and people can either do it on their own, or I'll have coaching packages available where they can sign up with me, and we can either do it in person or via Zoom if they're not local and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you if there was a place to download the one-pager right now. But apparently you got to get the website up first.
Yeah,
Okay.
not right yet, but it's coming. So I'm going to try to do it in conjunction with the book launch, and it's in editing right now. So we're getting real close. I'm still shooting for October as a launch date because I want to be able to offer it for the holidays. You know, if people want to buy a book as a gift or something like that.
So the book's not out yet, but it will be out by the end of the year.
Yeah. Okay. The goal is to be available for the holidays.
Nice.
So it's kind of the target right now. So
and that's finding the crease. Correct?
Finding the crease.
Okay,
Yeah.
See,
yeah.
I can't mix those words around. Well, I could actually.
Yeah.
Crease the find. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all based off what they call a Mormon creaser, like we were talking about earlier.
So what it does, that the idea of that is that when you're farming, you build like a trench that is the crease, and you need to find that crease.
Yeah. The creaser actually, the creaser digs. Most creasers usually have about 8 of those trench spades on them.
Okay.
And it digs those 8 trenches at a time, and then you turn the tractor around, you go back down the field, and you just go zigzag across the field, and you're building your crop.
And that's for water to go?
Yeah, for water to go down.
Okay,
yeah.
sweet.
So
Okay.
so we got to water our crops and sales, right? And the crops is what produces income and our cash flow in our businesses, right?
For sure.
So yeah.
Need some water for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Or some lemon wine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why I tell people when you're kind of looking at your one-page sales plan, just pour a glass of wine and think about it a little bit.
Exactly. Can you order this online?
You can order in Colorado. So one of the interesting things, we were talking about red tape in the liquor industry and stuff, is the TTB, which used to be the Alcohol and Tobacco Firearms. They regulate what size you can ship across state lines. So this is actually the 22-ounce bomber is actually a 650 milliliter bottle. But legally, I can't ship these because there's wine in there. If there was beer in there or something else, I can't ship these across state. So that's another great thing about cans. Cans is they're 250 milliliter, which is a legal increment to ship wine. So we'll be able to ship out of state. So right now, if and when we do ship, we can only ship in state. But hopefully, I'm hoping 2022 early is when we'll turn on the direct to consumer, and we'll be working. There's actually a company called Vino Shipper. I think that's right. I think I got that right. But they are legal in, I want to say, like 45 states, 48 states, something like that. And it'll be a direct to consumer option that we'll turn on at some point.
That's good, yeah.
When we kind of get this all figured out, it's baby steps, and so we're incrementally getting there as a startup.
I see the baby steps, but do you think that the cans have the potential to get you guys on like a national White Claw level?
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, truth be told, this is such a tasty product. I could totally see it going there.
For sure. I can see it too. I love it, and I love dreaming big too. So
yeah.
So that's awesome. And I have another question. Do you know how Post Malone always has a Bud Light? I don't know if you know this. He's always drinking a Bud Light wherever he goes. Would you guys be willing to let me, in every picture I have, drink that for like some kind of sponsorship?
Oh, yeah. I think we could work out something. That might be kind of fun.
That'd be cool, because no matter what you see with Post Malone, he always has a Bud Light. I don't even know if he drinks outside of being on camera, only if he's on camera.
Yeah, who knows?
But that'd be just a fun thought that I had, or maybe even sponsorship for the podcast. That could be cool too. I don't know what you guys do you guys have affiliate type stuff?
So that's something we've been talking about, because we're very much about the outdoors. We've been, one of the things that we've learned in talking to outdoor athletes is they don't have a lot of sponsorship dollars available to them. And so one of the programs that we've discussed, and everything in a startup, you kind of like, well, maybe we can do this, maybe not. There's a lot of legal stuff we got to go through, but.
And it's an alcohol, so there's a lot of hurdles with that too. So.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the things we've kind of batted around, so to speak, was what if like an outdoor athlete wanted to have a code where they could, if people go to our website and they enter a code, then they get, a percentage of that sale, right?
For sure.
Which I think would be really cool. So it would give, some of the athletes I've talked to in the skiing world, or
that would make perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, or mountain biking, giving them an opportunity to raise dollars. So they actually have a little skin in the game. They're going to want to promote our product, because then if sales come in,
for sure,
they're going to get a return on that.
And talking about strategy and how things do for certain industries, it is very common for beverages to slap their logos on extreme sports or sports. Red Bull's really, that's what their bread and butter really is the whole sporting stuff,
Yeah.
So, and Monster really grew their brand off of that as well too. So that may be even a strategic move. Like you're already planning it. So
yeah, and or even using the QR codes are getting super popular.
I was thinking that just slap a QR code on the back of a skier's back.
Yeah, and people scan it, and then all of a sudden it takes them to there, and then they buy it,
sure.
and the athlete gets credit for the sale. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's a lot we can do with technology. There's a lot of opportunity.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree.
Yeah. So
for sure. So yeah. So you got the give, listen, innovate, and L. Love.
So D.
Oh, D.
Yeah.
We already did L. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I told you I mixed letters around.
That's all good. I'm loving it, man. This is great. So, D is for determination.
Okay.
And determination really is about if you know the numbers ahead of time, sales isn't so discouraging. Right. And I actually have a formula in there in the book that talks about, like, if you take your sales times the commission you make on a product times this.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Then if your goal is 100,000 a year, you can kind of back into the numbers. And I always tell people like this. First of all, if you're going to talk to 100 people, let's just do the percentages here. 10% of the people are just going to be jerks. Right?
Yeah.
They're just gonna be like, I don't want to hear it. I don't have time for you. Screw you. I mean, we've all encountered that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know that you're gonna bump into those 10 people, it's like, okay, that's just the way it is. That's just life.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not so personal. Like, it's not so like, oh man, I must suck. Right? It's just 10% of the people are gonna be jerks.
Sure.
And so then what happens after that is you look at Major League Baseball. I think is the best example of this. So Ted Williams, who's regarded as one of the greatest hitters of all time, and it's only happened once in the history of baseball. Every time he stepped to the plate, he hit a ball and got on base 40% of the time. Think about that. The greatest ever. It's only happened once in the history of baseball. I was looking the other day online, and the average Major League Baseball player gets on base 28.5% of the time. And these are world-class athletes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? And so then you extrapolate that into the sales world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So finance, for example, if you're a retirement planning company and you're doing, investments for people, an average financial advisor, they close 17% of the people they sit down at the table with.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's
that means they have to talk to like 80, 87 or 83%.
Yeah.
83 people before they close 17 people, I guess.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, if you kind of look at it that way, if you just understand the numbers of the numbers, and you sat down and you do the equation, you say, okay, in order to make 100,000, if I'm closing 5% of the deals and I'm making $1,000 a deal, I need to talk to 2,000 people a year, which if you're going to work 50 weeks out of the year, that boils down to what, like 20 people a week, I think, or something like that. I have to do the math. But then if I have to talk to 20 people a week about my business to make 100,000 a year, then it's not so overwhelming. It's like, oh, that's what I got to do to be successful in sales, And so, really understanding those numbers and really diving into those, and really, I talk about laser-like focus as the key to being effective in sales. All of a sudden, guess what? I can win at this game. Mm-hmm. I talked to 40 people this week. I exceeded my goal. You're not so much focused on whether you're successful or not. You just know you're going through your process, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where determination is really about. Determination is really focusing on that, because it's really important to understand that, I think, for people, because so many people get discouraged because they get so many no's and they get rejected, and it's a business of rejection. Let's be honest, And
I'm glad you're saying that too, because it's really confirming. Like, literally, our clip from last week was me breaking down exactly pretty much what you said, but for like a Facebook lead gen strategy. There's a clip right there. You can look it on the COS Business Podcast for YouTube. It's Facebook lead or Facebook lead generation. It's a strategy that I had where you literally boil it down to if I want to close one deal a week, I had to boil it down to sending out 25 messages on Facebook a day. Only about 10 will reply back. Only about 1 or 5 will go down into 5 will go into deeper conversations, and about 1 will actually be wanting to talk about potentially what about what I want to sell, which is video production.
Yeah.
And so you do that once a day, and if 1 out of 5 sales calls is closed, then that would be 1 once a week, essentially. So it boils down exactly what you just said.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
So we were just literally talking about that last week. So that's real cool.
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's the D.
Yeah.
What's the E?
So E stands for excellence, and what that really means is if you can spare it, the methodology with E is take 30% of your sales and marketing budget and dedicate it towards customer experience. Because your dollars are much more well spent making your customers happy, because they're going to talk to people and they're going to refer you business, and maybe even have a referral program where you take 10% off their next service. I mean, there's a million ways to slice that, right?
For sure.
But if you have excellence in customer experience, that will pay itself in spades more than any sales dollars. You still have to do sales and marketing, don't get me wrong, because you have to get the word out. The people you have to have customers first, right?
Yeah.
All right. But don't lose focus on the fact that the impact and the exponential growth, I really think it comes from that customer experience. And you look at, there's so many different models out there where that has happened. My favorite one is like the Zappos shoe company. The customer experience is how they really grew their brand and grew it exponentially. And I mean, I could go down a list of others, but that's just one.
Yeah, definitely. I'm already thinking of like 10.
Yeah, exactly. And so that excellence in customer service and it's understanding and having that relationship with your customer, maybe understanding, maybe their kids are really important to them. So if their kids are important, maybe understanding if their kids had a soccer tournament, maybe you have that kind of relationship with them. Send them something for their kids, maybe a gift card to Play It Again Sports, a $10 gift card. It doesn't have to be much, so that they can get some soccer equipment for their kids. I mean, there's a million ways you can do it. It's just understanding what's important towards the customer and writing those. I call it a list of do's and don'ts, right? These are the things we're absolutely not going to do when we talk to a customer. These are the things that we are going to do and try to do for our customers.
So you want to put together a list of both of those?
Yeah. And that's one way to really impart culturally to your customer service people. These are the things we're willing to do. These are things that you shouldn't say to a customer. And
that kind of goes back to the D, which is really breaking everything down and really understanding. I think that's what the D was doing, right?
Well, yeah, the D was really understanding the numbers. So if you understand, what your customers' needs are in some numbers and coming up with some mathematical equations, you could definitely apply
So the
that.
E is more emotional then.
Yeah, the E is more emotional. It's really, I call it loving on my customer. Okay. I want to love on them. I want them to feel like they're part of the family. I want them to be super fans of our company and tell their 5 friends, like, dude, those Evergood Elixers folks are freaking awesome. Like, they're so cool. Like, they're all about the outdoors, and they sponsored this, proceed of their sales goes to this outdoor organization, and I can get behind that. And I want to rally behind that. And, those kind of things that are important to people, right? Yeah.
It's kind of why I became obsessed with the company Boxable, which is that company that Elon Musk has bought his $50,000 tiny house kind of thing going on. Like, I first saw the idea, anything Elon Musk already fascinates me. Usually anything he does already is kind of within the realm of what I already like, because we have very similar interests.
Yeah.
But I seen the company, and then I looked into the company. I literally spent an hour and a half on Instagram reading every single one of their Instagram posts from 2017 to now. So I was like, watch, because that's when they were founded, when you guys were founded, actually, I think. And so watching their growth and, like, within the last year, this new product that they've really innovated on and built, has just, I think it's going to be revolutionizing the housing industry. It's going to be really helpful. And just the idea of what this company stands for and the message behind it, I'm wanting to tell everyone. I've already made a YouTube video about it.
Exactly.
So I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the reason I brought that up, is because that's what you want to do. You want to essentially have that effect on all your customers, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
or as many as you can.
For me, and I think it kind of goes back to my grandmother. She's my hero. She's an amazing lady. She was an entrepreneur, and she had a couple restaurants. And
nice.
What's interesting is the first restaurant she bought, it was doing about $500 a day business. By the time she sold that particular location was doing $2,000 a day in business, and she had a second location, right? And it was due to the fact that everybody that came in, they felt like family. And I think that's one of the things we can lose focus in business, is that relational aspect. And so we gotta not treat things so transactional in business, and you got to make them feel part of the family, because that's ultimately when people belong to something bigger than themselves, and there's a mission behind what they're doing, and they're really enjoying it, and you're doing events and you're doing fun things, people can get behind it. Like you were talking about, like you made this YouTube video, and you said people.
I'm already connected on LinkedIn with the founder. Actually, he accepted my friend request last night on LinkedIn.
Nice. But they become your cheerleaders, right? And that's ultimately what you want. You want people to be your cheerleaders, because you've brought them into the family, and you've, in How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is probably next to the Bible, is this book I've read the most, right?
It's a good one. Yes.
It's a good one, right? And in there, it talks about the visceral need to feel important, to belong. And it's actually even more important than eating and drinking water to people psychologically. So when you can make people part of your tribe and make them part of your family, and they become cheerleaders, it just creates this culture. And I think that's something that's critical when you're trying to build a brand and build a business, is you want to create this culture that's true to you and what your mission is and what you're trying to do. And so that's something I think that kind of gets overlooked sometimes. And so that's why that chapter really focuses on that aspect and excellence.
I like it. Yeah. And that's the word is excellence.
Yeah.
Sweet,
excellence,
nice.
yeah.
And I was just thinking about how I brought up Elon Musk, but him himself is a really great example of anything he does. He has built this super fandom, essentially, of just based off of his missions, with Solar City and then Tesla and then like all these things that are designed with a purpose. And like he's kind of like I don't know, he's like probably the best at that, in my opinion. And I know I'm biased, obviously, but but if you think about it, he's been able to do that multiple times over and over again, and really build that excellence, I guess.
Well, and I think a big part of it is being true to yourself and discovering yourself. I think that's a lifelong journey, and I'm still walking it. I think I'll be walking it till the day I die.
For sure.
Is learning what is going to really resonate me. What can I get behind, and why am I behind it? Why am I backing this? I think that's critical. For sure. Absolutely critical. So.
Yeah, man. So is there anything else you'd like to cover before we close this out?
I think just I wanted to kind of touch back on the give, and kind of go full circle and tell people that that's absolutely, I think, the most critical component. If you go into things with giving heart and you really open your heart and you listen to what people have to say, I guess GL, give and listen. You're really going to discover some amazing things, and don't be afraid to say yes. And really, one of the big life-changing experiences I just went through the last couple of weeks is my friend Eric Newsham is an amazing individual. I never even knew this existed until he told me about it about 6-8 months ago. Okay. It's called Race Across America, and it's a bicycle race. And it's not a staged race like the Tour de France where you race and then you rest and sleep and then you race another stage the next day. It's a continuous bike race. And it actually, you get your sleep time counts against you. So he was getting limited sleep, maybe 2-3 hours a night, whatever was going to work for him and was safe. We wanted to keep him safe. We had 3 vehicles following him, and we were crashing in hotels and getting a few hours of sleep a night ourselves. And there was a group of 10 of us. We had 5 on the day crew and 5 on the night crew.
Oh wow, okay.
And my point to this story and telling you about this race that started in Oceanside, California, it was 3,000 miles, went to Annapolis, Maryland, is I said yes. Mm-hmm. I said yes to something I'd never experienced, didn't know anything about, didn't know what I was really getting myself into. Mm-hmm. But I come back from this, and it's changed my life. And I look at the world in such a different way now. And, and I think taking on experiences like that, where, I think the thing took away most was my sole mission for those 2 weeks was to make sure my friend was fed and he was safe. And, I cheered him on across the United States. I'd stop 5-10 miles ahead of him and clap for him. And I was focused on that service to my friend.
So you said it starts in Oceanside, and where does it end?
Annapolis, Maryland.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't realize you were going across the state. Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, 118 degrees.
I thought you were going north.
No, 118 degrees in Arizona, hail on Wolf Creek Pass, outside of Durango there. I mean, we had, they had to climb through the Appalachians, which is a whole nother ball game, man. Those hills are big there, man.
I've never been on the east side over there yet.
Oh, it's nuts. Yeah. But it taught me the importance of service, and really just drove that home, because my sole job was to make sure my friend was safe, he was fed, he had what he needed to get across the finish line. And there was 10 of us that didn't even know each other, right? Mm-hmm. And we had to buy into that mission and buy into that culture and then make it happen. Yeah. We did it. And he was the first American male to win since 2003, which is super exciting at 56 years old. Okay. Nonetheless.
At 56. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, it was a studly accomplishment for sure. Yeah. But it's just that service aspect that will really live and dwell in my heart for a long time.
So was there any prize or anything, or?
Not really. I mean, he gets a couple trophies and a pat on the back. I mean, this is really
But it's the story, the experience is the prize.
Yeah, the experience is the prize. This was his third attempt.
Okay.
So he overcame a lot of adversity to get through this third time, but it's that service aspect, and I would have never learned that lesson had I not said yes and an opportunity to give to my friend. So, that's why I tell people, look at those opportunities and go out on a limb, take a chance. Yeah. I think it'll change your life, things like that. Those experiences, it's really important.
How long did it take?
It took him 12 days.
12 days, okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. And what's crazy is because he was a little bit behind, because coming out of the desert, kind of interesting part of that, coming out of the desert, it was so hot at 118 degrees that his body was just aching. And we thought maybe he may have some medical condition that was causing that aching. We're worried about his health. So
COVID. No, I'm just kidding.
No. And so we went in the emergency room in Cortez. Everything checked out. His test came back okay. But, it was one of those things where he really didn't want to get back on the bike. But he did it, and he persevered and made it through. And it was just one of those cool things. I'm hooked. I told my wife, I said, we're going to have to go on a ram together, even if we just crew. I mean, just the experience. And
are you down for that?
Yeah. I think it'd be super awesome. So, don't be afraid to say yes. Give a little, and it'll change your life.
I love it. Yeah. All right, sweet. So where can people get a hold of you at?
So the best way to get a hold of me is James at solidsolutionsus.com. Okay. Or they can call me on my phone too. It's 719-964-7166. They can reach out to me there as well. So,
then where can they get this at?
So there's about 30 stores here locally, about 300 stores in the state. If you go to Evergood Elixers, and that's ELIXIRS.com, there you see something called the P Finder.
The P Finder, okay.
It's a Google map, and you can just click on it, and if you're on your phone, it'll just Google map it and give you the directions, and GPS you right there. So it's pretty easy to find our product that way, and so it's kind of cool. We're trying to make it easy for people, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's exactly, because if you confuse, you lose. I mean,
that's so true. A confused mind does nothing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So,
well, all right, man. This has been a good conversation, a good hour-long conversation, man.
Yeah, it's great. Appreciate it.
So sweet. This has been the COS Business Podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Awesome. I know. I'm like, whoa.
because I was sweating in the beginning. And I was like, why am I sweating? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm wearing a jacket.
Yeah. So that was cool.